Hello, everyone. Welcome to this festive edition of Big Finish Fans. Today, we're taking a bit of a sidestep into the Torchwood range, looking at two Christmassy, spooky Torchwood releases: The Crown, not the Netflix series, and the most recent Torchwood release, The Grey Mare. Once again, I'm joined with Luke.
Hello, everyone. Or Merry Christmas, as it nearly
A
is.
very early Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd take a look at these two stories. Should we do a little round of what we've been doing while we wait for people to join, and then we'll crack on with our little news and reviews? Because this is more of a traditional Big Finish Fans, no tier list. It's just, this is what we think of these stories.
Yeah, we're going back to our roots a bit, aren't we, in a way?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the last one we did, was it Fourth Doctor or Fifth Doctor, where it was sort of traditional?
I think Fifth Doctor.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah. And then we sort of like got caught the tier list bug a bit, didn't we? We were going through quite a few different ones of those.
Plenty of tier list.
Yeah. And still more to come.
Oh yeah, we've got another two, is it? This year? Maybe?
Yeah, certainly at least
Possibly.
two planned.
At least two planned.
And then probably we'll think of more after that. Yes, but whereas when it comes to Torchwood, we very much dip in and out of this range quite a bit. We're not as full on Torchwood collectors, and so I mean we could do a tier list of what we've got, but a lot of it would end up in that, oh, we haven't got that pile, or there's quite a few things I've got you haven't, a few things you've got that I haven't, and so it's not, would it be quite the same? So instead it was
it's not much of a discussion.
Yeah, instead it was nice to have these two stories and go a bit more in depth of them for the Christmas period, because Big Finish have done quite a few Christmas specials of sorts, haven't they, recently?
Yeah, I was looking at their Christmas collection. I was like, gosh, they've done a fair few.
Yeah.
And Torchwood seem to get one every year now, which is quite a nice little thing to carry on through, because Christmas on the surface is all jolly festive, but I think Christmas can be quite a dark period, really, and often quite spooky, because you get Christmas ghost stories, and we'll see whether these two stories fit that.
Yeah, that's very true. And even the monthly range, Doctor Who monthly range, while that was still going, that started to get a Christmas special every year before it ended, didn't it? With Blood on Santa's Claw and then Grey Mare. And Hunting. Grey Man, sorry, yeah.
I was like, did you have a different copy to me than what I listened to?
Yeah, but crossover there. And Hunting season before that as well sort of fits the Christmassy vibe. So it doesn't go full on with that. It's more just a icy setting for December. But
I've been meaning to revisit that one, actually. I've had a strong urge this week to go, I need to listen to that one again.
Yeah. It's quite a short one as well, isn't it? I remember. So it's not too big a commitment to go back to.
It's definitely on the list alongside Grey Man.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that one's definitely calling to me as we get closer to the big day.
Oh, yeah. Hot chocolate, bit of Big Finish. Perfect.
I think that's what we did with these releases, wasn't it? Or at least Grey Mare for me was very much a hot chocolate sat by the Christmas tree. I even sent you a little picture of the hot chocolate.
Yeah. I was like, he's going all out. He's going all out for this.
And then
good.
Listen to The Crown out on a walk today in the fog, which sort of suited that, because it's you said it's a real pea super out there earlier.
It's a proper pea super.
It'd be a good time to listen to Creeping Death.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. I mean, I've got my hot chocolate ready, so I'm all cozy, settling in.
Torchwood Soho, actually, the first one of that plays into the fog too.
Oh, does it? I guess it makes sense with it being in the 50s.
Yeah, it's sort of like that same overly, it's like the smog, isn't it, from all the industrialization that's going on, and then that led to the Clean Air Act. But yeah, getting distracted a bit. How have you been recently?
I've been all right. Finished uni for Christmas, so I can enjoy a bit of Who and sort of watch a few Christmas specials. I'm excited to revisit a few Christmas specials because I sort of save them for this time of year. I don't watch them all the year round because I'm like, that ruins sort of the specialness of them. So I'm excited to revisit a couple of the Capaldi ones. and some of the Matt Smith ones actually.
Yeah, I think especially the Moffat era ones, I think, do very strongly suit this time of year, don't they?
I think when I think of like Doctor Who at Christmas, I think Matt Smith. Like I always think of the snowmen and like the TARDIS on like the cloud. I think that's just such a Christmas thing. And like Matt Smith is just the Doctor at Christmas for me. Even though Tennant was pretty much the face of Christmas for our childhood.
Yeah, I certainly do lean more into Doctor Who and Christmas. Like with David Tennant, for me, that image is probably more the opening to Christmas Invasion with Slade playing and Mickey working away, and then suddenly TARDIS crashing down, and it's very much the council estate with the minimal Christmas decorations up. I think Russell really got the more realistic feeling Christmas, didn't he? And then Moffat went for the more fairy tale Christmas, and both approaches are completely valid, and it makes sense for Moffat to mix up after Russell, keep things fresh.
I think with Moffat, it was very much let's tell this fairy tale, whimsical nature, and I think that suits Christmas really, especially like a Christmas Carol, which probably my favorite Christmas special actually.
It is a very good one.
I think it's either that or The Next Doctor. I feel obliged to say that because I have such a soft spot for The Next Doctor as a story.
Yeah,
I mean, speaking of Christmas specials, what story to you feels like a Christmas episode, but it's not a Christmas special?
I mean, Unquiet Dead certainly springs to mind.
Yeah, I always class that as the Ninth Doctor Christmas special. I mean,
yeah,
I was thinking Girl Deconstructed as well. That's a good little Eccleston Christmas one in a way. Want to say?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. With just the whole family vibes of it, it really does suit that Christmas time listen, I'd say. Quite wholesomeness. And what else suits Christmas? But I think I haven't watched this one, but you and James have spoke about Horns of Nymon being a good one for Christmas time.
It's a pantomime.
Yeah, and it's been dispatched for me now. Season 17, it's on its way, so
it should arrive tomorrow.
Yeah, right in time.
Are you going to save it for Christmas, or are you going to open it and watch it tomorrow?
I'll probably just go through the series start to finish, and then we'll see where it falls on that.
Yeah. I mean, you should get a fair chunk of it done.
Yeah, I think certainly. I can't remember which season it was. I think it might have been 19. I managed to go through like a story per night.
Blimey.
But I'm not sure I could keep that up with season 17. We'll see.
You might need a bit of a break with season 17.
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. I don't think it's a bad season.
I think I'll get to the end of City of Death easily, like 2 or 3 nights, but
I mean, I think season 17 would work quite well for Christmas because it's that pantomime season, isn't it? It's all comedic. So I think, I think it's a perfect time to release it actually in December.
Yeah, it's worked out very well for them there.
I mean, what have you been doing to keep yourself occupied since our last little chat?
Not much really. Just finishing up work is pretty much it for the.
Yeah.
So got all that out of the way now, and got time off for Christmas. Got the jab booked, the booster. So.
Oh, I've done the same. Got mine booked.
Yeah. So just waiting to get to the day itself really now.
Yeah, the build-up's always more exciting than the actual day. You're like, oh, that's Christmas then on the actual day.
Yeah, so you get to about midday and then it's over now. Can we get to the next? Not much really happens in the end, especially with no Doctor Who until New Year's now.
Yeah, and who knows, with RTD coming back, will we see the return of the Christmas special?
Yeah, could do.
I mean, I wouldn't mind even like having David or like a past Doctor come back and do like a Christmas special. That'd be quite nice.
Yeah, I think haven't we got a tease that there's going to be an announcement from Russell on Christmas Day?
What, like the Queen's speech?
Perhaps.
That's the first I've heard of it, actually. So
he put out on Instagram. You know how before the announcement himself, he put out that picture of him, and he teased. Was it R2D he put, or RTD2 or something?
Was it day one? I don't know. I'll have a little look on Insta now because you've got me intrigued.
Yeah, but I think there is a Christmassy picture of him, and he teased in the description Chris Toomas or something in a similar fashion. So people are thinking, could there be some news on Christmas Day?
What, like a new Doctor? 14th Doctor announcement, do you think?
Maybe. Would be an interesting time to do it.
Let's have a look. Christmas. No, I don't think.
Maybe it's when the Mind of the Hodiak trailer's dropping.
Maybe. I mean, there is a little photo of him saying Chris Toomas, so maybe.
Yeah, that's the one that people have started theorising about. But
Doctor Who fans love a blooming speculation. Yeah. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, you can't stop us, really, can you?
No, you can't. It's in our nature.
Yeah, I'm not going to get my hopes up for anything, but also
I'm not expecting anything.
Yeah, seems a bit too early for too much. I think still got to keep the focus on Jodie for now and the New Year's special.
Yeah, I think that was a problem for Flux, really.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to get... We'll definitely get the announcement before the centenary, but do you think we'll get it before or after the Easter special?
I think before the Easter special. I reckon February, March time we'll know.
Yeah, that seems a fair guess. But yeah, do you want to dive into the news?
Yeah, and then we'll have a quick look at the chat, and then we'll dive into the old Torchwood. So if I load up the old screen share.
Hello, Stylish One. Hello, Ben Miller.
Hello, everyone joining us.
Yeah. Hello, DWHRGRT. And yeah, Matt.
So news-wise, what's going on?
DWHRGRT has asked, "What the flux?" ?
What the flux, indeed.
If that is in reference to what happened to our reviews, we are going to finish that. It is going to come.
We will finish it. Hopefully, maybe we can do it this week. Hopefully, get it out this week, and then that's done.
Yeah, and then we're all clear to dive into either the Daleks at some point.
Yeah, I think we're combined Survivors of the Flux and Vanquishers together, and then that. Yeah. Maybe put a tier list in it as well. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Give you give an overview of sorts.
Yeah, and now we've had time to process it, because I think Vanquishers was one of those stories where I needed to watch a couple of times.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it was about.
Yeah, you need to go for a bit more than just a gut reaction with that one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, won't spoil too much here.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it briefly to each other, what you thought of it. So we know each other's opinions on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, news. We have news. Of course, Big Finish news. We have the Paul Sprague competition winner, which is a 9th Doctor story, which is nice, because I think last year's was, which one was it? 10th Doctor one, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10th Doctor, then 12th the year before that. Yeah. So yeah, congratulations to Joe Vivers. He's got a YouTube channel that I've seen as well.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Oh no, the page is gone. Oh. Is it still sharing?
Yeah, so we've got the Litchwick Abomination for this one.
That's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. That's set up in Scotland as well, no less. So this has been a bit of a year for the 9th Doctor in Scotland.
Yeah, is it his second story, is it?
Third.
Third?
Yeah, what's it? Responsible Calls first story. Girl Being Constructed and
my bad.
Curse of Lady Macbeth.
So, and I feel like not Responsible Calls. Old Friends has got to be set in Scotland as well.
Yeah, that's true. So 4 visits to Scotland for the Ninth Doctor in the space of a year.
He likes his old Scotland, as Eccleston.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because they're going to the Firth of Forth with the Brigadier story, aren't they?
So,
but yeah, I mean, that's a free one as well, so can't complain there. Certainly.
And Jacob Dubman's reading it, so he'll do a good impression of Eccleston.
Yeah. It seems like a good little story to round out the year with.
Yeah, and you can get it on the 29th of December. So check it out. It's a free one. And then the other news we've got...
Quite a striking cover as well for that one. But
yeah, it is. It makes you think, gosh, individual covers, I miss them.
I mean, we've got one up here.
Yeah, we do. We've got Paladin there, Grey Mare. Oh, the Hodiak. Is that your little segue for Hodiak?
Might as well.
Let's
click on the week a bit, but
there we go. So we have this was teased in Dark Seasons, the Russell T Davies audiobook.
If you got the physical copy for that, that was hidden away there in the back.
So, what do you make of the cover?
I like it as it is. It's the first time by a new cover artist as well.
I think. Sophie Cowdery, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
And she's done some of the Doctor Who still books, so she's good. She's very good.
I think very striking, very 80s. Certainly suits that like Russell T Davies vibe with the council estates on the side there. But still like the 80s vibe with the corridor or something above and behind them. Yeah,
it does look very 80s. I mean, I wonder if we'll see, is it Regression of the Daleks or something like that?
Maybe.
See like a full cast adaptation of that? That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. So like round off a little classic Russell trilogy, I guess, with Mind and Hodiak Damaged Goods and that.
I mean, I'd quite like to listen to this in Damaged Goods and maybe do a Big Finish fans on those two. I think that'd be quite an interesting one.
I was thinking the same thing.
There we go. That's pencil in the diary.
Yeah, there we go. So coming in March or April, perhaps we'll get that to you guys.
Get that on you so you can enjoy a bit of lost story. I mean, the story does sound very sort of Colin Baker.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it seems to be playing into the coat a bit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, with the other person in the coat. I think that's probably the Hodiak, isn't it?
I believe. Yeah, they mentioned that in the description. I think one thing about the cover I've seen quite a few people pointing out as well is that there does seem to be a trend with Big Finish with characters just standing in a line as the cover.
I think Ravenous started that trend.
Yeah, certainly. It's certainly been going for a while with the Eighth Doctor stuff in particular, but it seems to be spreading now a bit with this and Peladon as well. It works a lot of the time. I don't think there's many bad covers with it, but when it starts to become too many covers, that's when it gets a bit worrying and a bit bland. But I think this cover certainly pulls it off well.
Yeah, I mean, I like the cover. It's got a nice sort of Starfield background, so it does feel very in keeping with like the Colin Baker stuff. And
that's lovely at the bottom, rather than just.
Could this be our new Doctor?
Yeah, that's what everyone's been wondering, isn't it?
Everyone's speculating that.
It's a big cast for this one. Are you worried at all? Or does it excite you?
Worries me actually, because you think how many bit parts is it gonna be?
Yeah, I think there's got to be at least a few.
So let's just get on the old cast list. And the story's only 100 minutes, isn't it? So I guess 2-parter, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's meant. Yeah.
So when you look at that cast list and you look at the runtime, you're like, that's a chunky cast list.
There are box sets with less people in than that.
Yeah,
because usually Big Finish can only get about 5 guest actors in, sometimes 6. So it does seem.
Do you think because they know it's going to sell, and they're like, it's Russell, so we can kind of push the boat out a little bit more with the budget of this one?
Maybe, but
because this is going to sell. It's
is it going to sell that much better though? Because they're like paying 3 times the amount on actors.
But I think a lot of people are going to be interested in it because it's Russell's technically first Doctor Who script. What is known?
Yeah, that's very true.
And it's kind of crazy that a year ago this was just a little sheet of paper for like was it like the Runaway Bride sort of live tweet?
Yeah, I think it was just over a year ago, actually. I remember Big Finish tweeted about that, saying a year on, look how far we've come. So it was, yeah.
And there we go.
About a year and a couple of days at most.
So yeah, it's strange world, but I'm sure we'll have maybe like a Russell T Davies Presents range at some point.
I don't know. He might be a bit too busy with the TV series now.
We could be having a proper Fendal story now on TV.
It's funny to think that when this was announced, we knew nothing about him coming back, and now, as we get more details, we know that it's not just a past showrunner, but a future showrunner as well, giving us
like every article he was saying like a year ago has so much more weight behind it about him saying about Doctor Who needs its own sort of Marvel universe.
Really.
It just seems like a really big, exciting thing, and obviously Sony's involvement with Bad Wolf. Doctor Who's going to be on a big scale now.
They've even got their own production company set up, haven't they? Like Whoniverse One.
So that makes you think: is that going to be the spin-off, or is that going to be like Doctor Who Confidential? Is that going to return? It feels like they are going to be putting a lot of money into the show, and it sort of makes you go, "I want to get to that," and sort of forget about the Jodie stuff, which is bad to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to think we are already 3 episodes away though,
which is sad because you're like, "Oh, I'm really loving Jodie now," and she's going.
Always happens, doesn't it? It's like the cycle of acceptance with a new Doctor. Once you finally start getting along with them, they're heading out the door. The Peladon trailer, since we got 6 Doctor Mel in that as well.
Haroon.
Oh, hearing McGann say that.
McGann there. Oh, that's worth the price of the box set alone. But yeah, I like the trailer. It's quite nice.
Do you want to play it on the stream? I don't know if we can.
I don't know if it'll work. I feel like we're jumping the gun by saying that.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it will play. I feel like it'll play through my headphones and like, yeah.
That's true,
We'll get around to it at some point. We will figure that out for next year.
Yeah, I think that's probably something you've got to pre-download, isn't it?
We'll pre-download and we'll prepare it for then. Yeah. We might do a Paladin review, maybe.
Yeah, I think you'll certainly hear our thoughts on it at some point, because we're both excited for this box set. Trailer didn't do much for me, but that's kind of standard with a lot of Big Finish trailers now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the recast of Alpha Centauri very good. It's not. Yeah, it is recast.
Yeah, but she's done it before in some of the other.
Was it Bride of Paladin?
Yeah, I think.
Was it you who sent that comment of like, oh, finally a box with no recast, and then someone was like, they've recast these characters.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. Someone said, oh, finally a box set with no recasts, and then people were replying saying, you're wrong.
I love that. But yeah, I enjoyed the trailer. I feel like the more I hear about this set, the more I become more invested in it. And I think that it could be like one of the underdog releases of the year, really.
Yeah, a very exciting one. It's funny to think that not long ago we had no details other than Peladon box set. David Troughton's in it.
And sort of speculation of like, oh, these are the Doctors, what could be in it. And now we know what Doctors are in it. It is exciting, and it's it seems like a strange release because this is the 2022 is the year of the relaunch.
So it's also the year of Mel.
Very much Bonnie Langford. It is the year of her, isn't it? Sixth Doctor, Seventh Doctor, Paladin, Lost Story. My goodness, we're definitely making up for the lack of Sixth Doctor and Mel stories over the past. It'll be 9 years, won't it?
Yeah, and also with out of all the announced sets like Mind of the Hodiak, the 2 Sixth Doctor relaunches, and Seventh Doctor Silver and Ice, this is the last one to be released, but it's the first one we're going to hear with Mel. Last one to be announced, like get details that Mel's going to be in it, but the first one we're going to hear with Mel is what I was going for there.
I mean, hopefully it'll be a cracking start for that, really.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. I mean, that'll probably be out towards the end of the month in January.
Yeah, I think it's time with the anniversary itself.
We might get I think Fifth Doctor 40 will be the first thing to be released next year.
Yeah, I think I'm reasonably certain it'll be 5th of January, or 4th of January. I can't. Whatever day Castrovalva Part 1 came out on, that's the day that'll come, because it's definitely the Wednesday. I'm pretty sure we worked out. But yeah, I suppose, is it 4th Doctor Solo now?
4th Doctor Solo. Where it is.
Yeah, we got that cover.
We've got the cover. Where to start?
It's one of the more disappointing pieces of news, I suppose.
And even who's in it as well.
Yeah, I mean, transphobic elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I mean, we've known it's coming for some time. We've known that they had this recorded first, actually, even before they did the First Doctor box set. And we've been wondering, are they going to, re-record the lines with a different master, maybe even an entirely new actor? Are they going to scrap whatever stories he's in entirely? But no, they have decided to release it. They've surprisingly even put his name on the featuring section.
Yeah.
Which they usually avoid. Like, they removed it from Home Guard and Psychic Circus around that time. So maybe it's like their way of getting out there to say, he is in this, by the way, so if you don't want to pick it up, you're now aware of it, rather than trying to hide it. Because I think people would be more mad if they brought it and then heard him with no knowledge of him being in there.
I just think it's really bizarre that, we can absent friends, but we can't sort of can a 4th Doctor story. It just was a bit strange, really. We've got Milo Parker now playing the First Master, so if they wanted to do a First Master story, then I think that would be such a more interesting dynamic, having the Milo Parker Master than James Dreyfus or whatever.
It's been such a long time as well. Like, between James Dreyfus getting kicked out of Big Finish and these details coming out, this story being released, there was definitely time to redo some things with this.
And especially with the whole sort of GB News, was it? He was on there talking about how he was sort of cast and shunned out.
Yeah.
And it was just such a car crash of an interview. And you're like, just get off, man. You've just dug yourself a bigger hole. Get off.
Yeah, I think he's been becoming more and more unpleasant on Twitter, sadly, from what I've heard. I can't really say I've checked it out too much, but we can at least safely say that no matter how well or badly the set sells, Big Finish aren't going to get him back. And also, he's already been paid for it, so it's not like there's any commission to the actors from this. So I think buying this set at least isn't putting any money in his pocket. But yeah, I think I do totally get anyone not wanting to pick up the set on those grounds. And also, buying Big Finish is expensive. If there's a set you can avoid getting, and there's always good to have that excuse.
Yeah, it's all way of avoiding it. Yeah, that's a good way.
Like, if you've got a tough decision to make between, I really want this set, but I also want this set, these details come along, it makes the decision easier to go for the other set.
Definitely does.
But yeah, I I mean, we're in too deep, aren't we? With Fourth Doctor, we've got to pick this one up.
I mean, I've picked up the bundle, so I've automatically got it despite knowing the details of it. So I feel like, oh, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got Home Guard, haven't you? You just haven't listened to that one.
I've listened to some of it, but I just can't stand it.
Did you finish Psychic Circus?
No.
No.
I just not a fan of. I've never been a fan of Dreyfus's Master. I've never, even before all the controversy, people were praising him. I never got the hype what people had for him.
He's very much a generic Master.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've never clicked with him. And just like I've always said, that Delgado for me is the first Master, really, even though he's not technically. But for me, that's the first time the Doctor met the Master on TV. So I've always been iffy on Dreyfus because of my own like view of canon.
Yeah, that's fair. I suppose even since, I mean, with this and Psychic Circus, at least, it is them meeting out of order, so it's not messing on with the Doctor from that point of view. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, at least this should now be the end of him. Like, once we got this out of the way, we don't have to worry about this kicking up again.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I don't know. It is just a bit of a sticky situation, really.
Yeah, it's an awkward one.
Yeah. And also, especially because we were quite excited for this set.
Ever since, like, was it Day of the Vashnarada or Night of the Vashnarada?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we were looking forward to some solo Tom. Batcher on the loose.
Batcher on the loose, and we ain't getting it with this one, sadly.
I mean, luckily we have another box set after this in the series. So.
I mean, I like the sound of the story, but it's just, not for me.
Yeah, it leaves a sour taste. But I think for all our little quibbles here, there are much bigger issues at play. Like first world problems here. There are people from his rhetoric and his beliefs who are suffering much worse. So a lot of sympathy towards them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, cover itself, not a big fan of either.
Yeah, it seems like an interesting cover. What I find interesting is this forecast audio drama. It's the only, I mean, it's not on Fifth Doctor 40. Does seem a bit of a strange thing to include. Like, is it a sticker or is it actually on the actual product?
Yeah, it throws it all off a bit.
Yeah, it almost feels like a vinyl cover in a way, or like a Doctor Who magazine thing. What you'd see, like a free giveaway.
Even our friend Kai pointed out that it looks like Tom's looking at that sticker, like, what is that doing there on the cover? In confusion. Like, I mean, if you really wanted to put that it's a forecast audio drama on here for whatever reason, just stick it at the top with next to Tom Baker's name. Like, you got the room there, like they did with series 10 individual covers.
Yeah,
but who knows? They've got their reasons. But if they could get rid of that before the actual release, I wouldn't complain.
No, I'd be very happy.
Again, first world problem.
Yeah, that's just a bit nitpicky on the cover. There are bigger issues at play with this release.
Yeah. The rest of it, I don't mind.
Yeah, we've got the return of, I think, is it Mother Bloodtide on the cover? Probably not Mother Bloodtide.
Oh, what a Carrier Night.
Yeah, we've got there. And then we've got Margaret, the new companion.
Yeah, she's been used there. Seal of Rassilon burning away in the back there.
The Division confirmed.
And a lighthouse. Always love a lighthouse.
Horror Fang Rock vibes, maybe?
Maybe. I think it is. It gives me more Claws of Axos vibes when I read the description for that one. Because you've got the nuclear power station.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, I do like the inclusion of Deadly Assassin Tom. I do like that. Big fan of that.
Yeah, that's a good little choice there.
Is that Fourth Doctor solo, do you think? Any little things to add?
No, not really. Still getting it, but my excitement for it's definitely been knocked.
That's understandable. Is that all the news we've got to cover?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that is.
There we go. So that's our little news roundup.
Dive into the chat a little bit.
Let's have a little look in the old chat, what people have been saying.
Quite a busy chat today. Sorry, we've been ignoring you guys a bit.
We'll be with you in a minute, so let's have a look. Hello. Where should we start in the chat? Because it has been pretty active. Should we do our little announcement before we dive into the chat?
Go for it.
On Wednesday, is it 22nd of December, we are doing a little Q&A. I say a little, it'll probably turn to be quite a big Q&A. So if you fancy joining us to talk all things Doctor Who and ask us a few questions, just to have a bit of a jolly time in December, go on, join us for then about 8 o'clock usual time. And I guess we'll do our famous shortbread tier list. So join us for that.
Yeah. A little more relaxed Christmas special, really, isn't it? We've got two of them this year.
Getting two. I guess this is sort of the formal Christmas special. Then I guess we can let our hair down and go, let's just have a little chill chat about and talk about Doctor Who, really.
Yeah. I think no other topics really in that one. So we will be more focused on the chat than we have been today. Ben Miller says, I'm hoping Mel does face off against the Cybermen. You're in luck. In the 7th Doctor set, she will be.
Is it? Yeah, in the Tinsel Town one, is it?
Yeah, Bad Day in Tinsel Town by Dan Starkey. It's a Cyberman story with not just one, but two types of Cybermen. It's meant to be 80s versus 60s. So
that's got to be an interesting one.
Yeah. Stylish One says, seeing how few Mel and Six stories we've had across the entire history of Big Finish, 2022 is more than making up for that. Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
He also says, if Big Finish are to survive until 2030, they need to recast characters. I think people will just have to accept them eventually. I think most people have, really. You are just going to have a few sticklers who will bang on about it forever. You can't do much about it, but I think most people have come round to it by now. At least enough people have to them to justify keep doing it in the sales.
I mean, we're a big fan of the recast. We spoke highly of the Third Doctor Adventures Volume 7, which I'm still going to say is our favourite release. It's still my favourite release of the year. Is it still your favourite? Or something beating it for you?
What was that, sorry?
Third Doctor Volume 7, has that been your favourite release still?
Maybe. Very probably, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's still my favourite release of the year, and that's entirely recast, so...
Yeah, that's very true. Which is always something you almost forget about, isn't it?
Yeah, which you do forget, but it's tactfully done and two blooming great stories. Yeah. Pain Cyberman. I think it's great if we're ending the year with a Ninth Doctor short trip. Very fitting the year Eccleston joined Big Finish, and what a way to celebrate that by having a little short trip to celebrate it in a way.
Stylish One is clapping the shortbread. All right, lads, says Mr. Bonk Cactus. Hello, Mr. Bonk Cactus. Always a pleasure to have you with us.
Dan Yaz and Jericho spin-off on Big Finish in the same vein as Lone Centurion. I mean, I'm down for that spin-off.
Yeah, same. To be honest, I'm even more down for that spin-off than I am for the Martha Jones spin-off. If we're on ones that are like companions separated from the Doctor traveling the globe.
Yeah, I'd like that. It'd be interesting if John Bishop does Big Finish.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like Mandip Gill is a fairly certain bet. I think she loves playing Yaz, so would relish the opportunity to dive back into her again.
I'm surprised Pearl Mackie hasn't done anything, actually, because she always seems so keen, and I love Bill. I'm surprised we haven't had like a Series 10 Bill and Nardole thing, but I guess Peter.
Yeah, maybe they are just saving it for Peter. Pain Cybermen, don't remind me of the tragedy that is Ascent Friends. We're sorry.
We're sorry. That's never going to see the light of day.
If they're giving us Dreyfus again in Solo, surely they can, but I suppose
they might just slide it out, just going, by the way, this is out.
Yeah,
that might
I think
be
it is more BBC higher ups coming down from them affecting him, isn't it? Really.
And I think Big Finish and John Barrington relationship is pretty much burnt now. That bridge is not being built.
Yeah, it seems that way. But Torchwood is doing all right without him, to be fair, as we will discuss soon. So I've seen people saying they're not buying this, which is totally fair. It's a shame how he's soured the other stories he's in, Home Guard and Psychic Circus in particular. Yeah, very true. Would you like them to re-release all the other stories featuring him with Milo Parker re-recording his lines? I doubt they'd do it, but it's a possibility. No. I definitely don't think they'd do it. Would I like it? I think it's maybe best just move on from that whole thing now.
Yeah, you're kind of drawing more attention to it if you do that, to be honest. You just go, that was that. Let's move on to this relaunch and focus on this is what Big Finish can do.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, but even when it comes to things like that, like making special editions of old stories, they've said they're not really that interested in looking back in that sense. It's always more about moving forward.
And you say that, but then they do 8 and Charlie box set.
Yeah, but that's not like a re-release of an old story.
True.
It's basically what their whole branded, isn't it? Like going back and slotting stories with old Doctors and Companions.
That is very true.
Especially Sirens of Time, because that was their earliest one. Some of the sound design isn't quite up there with the standard of today.
Yeah.
And so I think people have asked them, would you ever go back and redo that? But they've said it's what it is. It's like a little time capsule, isn't it, really? It's to show how far they've come. So they're not likely to touch that up at all.
The unfortunate side of the 60 Cybermen being in Tinseltown, it all means the Invasion Cybermen will be on yet another cover after the variety we've had. It feels like a step back, said the stylish one.
I mean, we'll have 80s alongside them. Hopefully Silver Nemesis kind as well, so I can live with it.
Yeah, I guess the Invasion ones. I guess, the 80s and the Invasion Cybermen are probably the most iconic of the Cybermen designs, I want to say. Don't know if that's a hot take, but I feel like they're the two quintessential Cybermen designs.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably a fair thing to say. Certainly classic-wise. Ben Miller could be the Wheel in Space Cybermen. I think recent comments on the podcast from Nick Briggs seem to indicate that that's not happening anytime soon.
Nick's biased there.
Yeah.
Nick's not a fan of Wheel in Space.
But I think also, because especially recently, he's liked the voices to match the story. And I don't think he's really in the mood to do that Wheel in Space voice.
I don't think he's ever attempted it.
No, I don't think. I mean, you get to hear an attempt on the podcast. So.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, he has a bit of a mocking go at it, I guess.
I mean, he slandered ambassadors. What else is he going to slander?
Ben Miller, who do you think should have been the master opposite the 11th Doctor? Oh, he's asking it. Stylish one, that. Sorry. We've stolen Stylish one's question.
We shall leave that question for Stylish one.
We'll leave your chat to yourself there. Sorry to intrude.
Should we talk about Torchwood then?
Yeah, let's dive into Torchwood.
So, like you said at the start of the stream, that Torchwood is a range we sort of cherry pick. Like you said, we don't really have any plans of doing a Torchwood tier list because we haven't covered them. But I thought to start off this little Torchwood chat and to sort of break in and get into the flow of it, What would you say is your sort of favourite Torchwood release? Like, what would you to say would be like an ideal jumping on point for the range, or like any standouts really?
I mean, certainly one that stands out to me. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a good jumping on point though. Is Torchwood Soho, the first box set for that? Like, I love how different that is from everything else Torchwood has done. It very much is like, what if there was a Torchwood classic series in a way, as we go back to the 1950s with Norton Folgate. You get Andy sent back in time there as well. You have some wonderful new characters in Elizabeth Hayhoe and Gideon Lyme. And it can be some very dark stuff in there as well. And I think certainly very fitting of the post-war era that it's set in. So I have a soft spot for that series, and certainly will be picking up a third set if they hopefully do one. But yeah, that's sort of like my little quarter of Torchwood, I guess. Like, I've persuaded you to pick up that first set, but you've still not quite got around to listening to it yet.
Just look how much is coming out.
Yeah, that's too much.
There's too much. I mean, I want to listen to it because of how highly you've spoken of it. So I'm like, it's got to be good. Because me and you have quite a similar taste from what I've experienced this year doing these streams. I'm like, all right, we have pretty similar taste in Doctor Who, so I'm sure I like it.
Yeah, I think it uses the 6-part format much better than a lot of other Big Finish stuff does. Like, we've spoken at length about the God of Phantoms. This one certainly mixes it up a lot more with that format. Like, some episodes take place before earlier episodes, and so you get the full picture at the end. And I think it's wonderful storytelling from James Goss across all that. And as for other standouts, like looking back, I think Dissected is a brilliant one. They get quite experimental in the monthly range at times. And that's an example of that, where it's all told from the point of view of the corpse as they are performing an autopsy on it. And so I think...
Yeah, I was going to say Tropical Beaches is another experimental one, which I think deserves a mention.
Yeah.
Which I think is a cracker.
Sir Michael Palin as well.
Yeah. And it's got all the Torchwood crew in there, so... But not as you expect it. And I like the structure of it. It's a great one.
Yeah, it's very, very different.
I think... Oh, go on.
Stylish Ones just said in the chat, Ben, we have very similar taste. Cold Vengeance, am I a joke to you?
Okay, maybe that's a major difference, but yeah.
I mean, there's always going to be there's an exception to every rule.
Yeah, maybe that's the one time we've had a massive disagreement, but everything else we're pretty much on the same page. I mean, we could be wrong. I could be proven wrong any minute now when we review The Crown and Grey Mare.
Who knows? Yeah, we've not yet shared our opinions with each other, so...
Yes, this is quite exciting.
Yeah. Made You Look is another one that stands out to me. Like a good
That's another one you've made me buy.
Yeah. Another one you're yet to listen to.
Another one on the list, on the pile. Yeah. What just keeps growing.
I think that was in the recent sale, wasn't it? You got that?
Yeah, on the Torchwood sale. And that's how I picked up The Crown, actually.
Yeah, The Crown is still currently on sale. If you hear our thoughts on that and it sounds interesting to you, you can always go pick that up for 10% off with their Christmas deals. But yeah, Made You Look, set in a seaside town off season where everyone in the town has gone missing. Gwen's gone to investigate, and some creepy goings on take place. It's very much about the horror idea of, if you see the monster, that spoils it. That spoils the horror. Like, you need to keep it out of sight as long as possible. And so this sort of plays on that a lot and plays with the psychology of Gwen and the monster itself as well. I think it is an interesting one, certainly. Well done by Guy Adams there. And finally, a little honourable mention is Ghost Mission, which is sort of the thing that set the wheels in motion to what we eventually got with Torchwood Soho, where we're introduced to Norton Folgate. It's just a fun little story with Andy and Norton messing around in present day, really. I think, yeah, I think it's just a good time. Nothing too amazing, but it's a nice little release nonetheless. How about you? What highlights of the Torchwood range are there?
I think
I know there's one I've deliberately left off my list because I know you'll want to talk about it.
I think Night of the Fendal is mine.
There it is.
There we go. That was my first Torchwood release, so I've got such a soft spot for it. So I was quite late diving into the Torchwood stuff because I haven't really been a big fan of the Torchwood stuff, but last year it was all on iPlayer, started rewatched it, and then sort of got more and more into the Torchwood stuff. But Night of the Fendal, I think, is a good sort of jumping on point for the Torchwood Big Finish stuff, I would say. Especially if you're of the age.
Yeah. It's taking something very familiar to you as a Doctor Who fan. If you're like in this deep with Big Finish, you'll probably know all about the Fendal and stuff. And so it takes that and makes it very adult.
And I think if you can have things what you're familiar with, like a monster, and I think if you're getting into Big Finish, take something what you know and love, like a Dalek or a Doctor, you're more likely to get into the story. And I think with Night of the Fendal, putting a Doctor Who monster in there, you can really get the horror of that monster because Torchwood can push that boundary a little bit more further than Doctor Who can, and the whole premise of it being like a snuff film, and you've just got some real nasty characters in there. So when they get their comeuppance, it feels pretty darn good. And it is a dark story, but it's just really good. I love it, and it just has that sort of homage to Hinchcliffe very well, and it is a great sequel to Image of the Fendal.
Definitely. I think with Torchwoods, it works at its best when it is Doctor Who unrestrained in a lot of ways. Like, it's not trying to be adult. Like, it's not something that's forcing itself to be adult, like it sometimes can be. Instead, they've started off naturally with it, and then whereas when coming to make a Doctor Who horror story, the boundaries that probably come into place, like you try to reel back that horror a bit. This is letting loose that full potential of it. It's very much taking the lid off, really, and showing the full potential of some of the horror that Doctor Who can present itself with.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of summing that. But really, I mean, other ones, The Hope, that's a very bleak one.
That's one I haven't got.
That's a good one with Owen. Three Monkeys, I think that's a lot of fun. Like Owen and Andy stuff, they're an interesting bunch to listen to.
I hope they get their own box set at some point.
I feel like they're the most Torchwood likely people to get a box set. Really.
Yeah.
The Pain Sideman, only Torchwood audio I listened to was Corpse Day. That's not a fun audio to listen to. I've not listened to it yet, but I've heard of it is more like Countryside on that sort of level of grimness.
Yeah, I've heard it does induce a bit of throwing up in one's mouth while listening.
I mean, that's one way of selling an audio to people.
Yeah, there you go.
The Torchwood audios, as far as I've heard, are basically what early Big Finish audios used to be, maybe a little bit more experimental. They have their moments, I think, from what I've listened to.
Yeah. I think certainly they've hit a groove recently with them, haven't they?
Yeah, I feel like this year in particular, it's been a great expansion of like Torchwood with like the return of Adam, Zachary Cross. It feels like we are pushing new boundaries of Torchwood beyond the Cardiff bunch, really.
Yeah. And I suppose you wonder how much of that is down to the pandemic limiting them as to what actors they can use.
Mm-hmm.
So forcing them to expand to other ones there a
bit. Speaking of expanding, should we move on to another little expansion what Big Finish have done with Queen Victoria in The Crown?
Yeah, we might as well. This was your first Queen Victoria one as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the first one I've listened to. This is part of like a group of 4 stories, isn't it?
Yeah, we had back in when they were first starting up the range, the Victorian Age, which was more of a Captain Jack story that she just happened to feature in. And then after that for, I think it was, what, is it 200 years since her birth? Or since her coronation? No, it must be birth, mustn't it?
Yeah, probably
Last
birth.
year. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they were sort of celebrating that a bit by having 3 different stories. So they kicked it off with, where is it? Fortitude, which I've not got. I wonder if, do you want to scroll down and see if they're in the recommended bit?
There we go.
There they are. So yeah, you've got Fortitude was the first one. Then Save Our Souls, which I did pick up because I love a little bit of lighthouse horror there. I think that is a particularly good one. And finally, The Crown. And there's like nothing really linking the 3 of them other than it's Queen Victoria and Torchwood, really. So you can dive into any of them and hopefully have a good time with it. And it's even got its own little theme, actually, like a little remix of the normal Torchwood theme, doesn't it?
Yeah, I thought, is that like an early Torchwood theme? But if you say that it's a different theme, especially for The Crown, then that's kind of cool then.
Yeah, it's sort of like, especially for the Queen Victoria stuff, because it's more of a classical remix of the usual Torchwood theme, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very sort of string orientated, isn't it?
I know Torchwood Soho has its own one as well.
Mm-hmm.
That one's not as good.
Okay.
It's the standard Torchwood theme, but it just feels like a lower quality, I guess, is the best. Like as if coming through a 50s TV or 50s radio, I guess is the way to put it.
Has it got like a bit of a grainy quality to it then?
Yeah, I see what they were going for with it, but
not a fan.
Quite. No.
Okay.
I think it's too similar and just like a lesser version, whereas this feels like it's different enough to warrant it being a different version.
Yeah, I guess it gives it a different sort of flavour to the other Torchwood stuff, really.
Yeah, I get a kick out of it when I heard that starting to play.
Should we dive into our thoughts on The Crown then?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So, what do you make of The Crown?
I had a really good time with it, I will say. So,
I also had a good time with it.
Much more of a slow burner, this one. I mean, how far into spoilers do you want to go?
Should we try and keep it spoiler light because it is still on sale?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I think that if people want to check it out after the stream, then they still have that luxury what we had.
Yeah, that's true. I think especially with some of the twists that happen towards the end, it is better going into this.
That ending, my God.
Yeah.
I think
going into this a bit more dry.
I think that this story, out of the 2, I would say is more horror. I think that this is more of a bleak listen. I think that this is more of a twisted one.
Yeah, that's very true. Much less of a happy ending.
Yeah, but I think, is it between Maddox and Queen Victoria, that ending where they sort of do something, then they wish each other Merry Christmas? You're like, yeah, that has a whole different meaning.
Yeah, that's true.
Whew.
Yeah, a bit of messed up stuff in this one. And also an interesting exploration of curses as well. Like curses in the Doctor Who world, or specifically the Torchwood world. I think. Yeah, I like the idea that Torchwood just has this whole archive of things where they've already collected a lot of this knowledge, a lot more than the British Library has. And so Queen Victoria has a lot more of this knowledge at her disposal and an extra weapon in her arsenal, I suppose, really.
Well, books, best weapon of all.
Yeah.
Guess links back to Tooth and Claw in that way.
What? Yeah. Brain is mightier than brawn, isn't it?
But we have the start of it's quite creepy, isn't it? With like the sort of ferryman rhyme. So you instantly know that this is going to be one of those spooky tales.
Yeah, that's very true.
And the Grey Mare follows pretty much the same opening in a way, with like a little rhyme.
Yeah, they're both like different pieces of folklore, aren't they? I think Grey Mare much more Welsh itself as a whole story, whereas I suppose it's more Torchwood 1, really, isn't it?
This is, yeah.
Yeah. I think is this the early Torchwood at this point in the timeline?
I would say I'd say probably.
Yeah, I don't know how much the Institute expands over time, how that all works, but yeah, certainly this is more England-based, really. But yeah, also the guy who plays Gideon Parr, I'm pretty sure it's the guy who played Gideon Parr in this. He's like the main doctor who comes to visit Victoria, or this woman who seems to be Victoria in a mental asylum. And yeah, Derek Riddle or Rydell. He was in Tooth and Claw, actually.
Oh, did he play the person who owns the house?
Yeah, he did.
Ah, okay. So that's a nice little link.
Yeah. Not quite a reunion because different actress playing Victoria herself, but
yeah, not
sort
Pauline
of coming
Collins.
full circle in a way there. So that's a nice little touch. I think he does a good job because it is very much him and Rowena Cooper as Queen Victoria who are the backbone of this story. They are. It's mostly one long conversation between them.
Yeah, and sort of Victoria recounting how she got into this predicament, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think certainly there was a point where I was worried, like, is this going to sustain itself for an hour? Because it's a chunky listen. It's an hour and 5 minutes. Grey Mare is only about
53,
just over 50. Yeah. So this one's certainly got a bit more on it, but
it builds to its horror, I think.
Yeah, it definitely.
It has moments of its horror because you get like the sound design of like the chains, and you get more detail about this sort of green figure sort of grimacing in sort of like the asylum, which great imagery. And I felt more unnerved listening to this one than Grey Mare personally.
Yeah, I do feel like it's got more of the horror in it. I suppose it's because it's kept out of sight for a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that certainly helps a lot there. It is very much this slow build up to that. Like you get teases and then we just move on from it and you're thinking, no, can we get back to that? I want to know what this is. This is creeping me out a bit. But no, the story just sort of knows to dangle it in front of you and then take it away and make you wonder.
Yeah, because you sort of question because it's this sort of dressed in green and bells on its feet, and you're like, wasn't Father Christmas green in the Victorian times?
Yeah, he was actually.
And stuff like that. So, like, is it evil Santa in this?
Yeah,
yeah, that's another thing.
I don't. Is the ferryman an actual real legend? Actually,
I've never really come across. I know more about Mary Lloyd than I do. The ferryman.
Yeah, that certainly is a real myth.
I mean, I love how this sort of ties into like the ferryman ties into sort of the ending of the story. Really, I think that was how that sort of rhyme links to the end. Really.
Yeah, I like how there's a lot of stuff hinted at the start that then you move on from, but it comes back to that all very neatly at the end, and it all ties up quite nicely.
And I want to sort of congratulate Jonathan Barnes because he's sort of got the Chris Chibnall thing that he gets how characters would speak in Victorian times. And I think Jonathan, I don't know if it's, I think it is Jonathan Barnes who does a lot of the Sherlock Holmes stuff.
I believe he does.
So I feel like he's probably the perfect person to write a Victorian Torchwood one.
Yeah, it's Jonathan Barnes who does most of the Sherlock Holmes stuff. Yeah, I think he said that he was going for an M.R. James Victorian horror story with this one, a little short story. And I think this definitely suits that vibe, really.
I mean, what do we make of Rowena Cooper as Queen Victoria?
I think she does a great job, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, this was my first listen to her as Queen Victoria. And I think that you definitely are sold that she is the Queen.
Yeah. Didn't you hear her in Jago and Lightfoot?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, as a full story of her own in her own right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely forgot she was in Jago and Lightfoot. I didn't realize she played Queen Victoria in Jago and Lightfoot.
Yeah, I suppose that's like Big Finish continuity, isn't it?
Which is a nice little thing to keep into it.
Well, actually, I don't. No, maybe she hasn't. Certainly Jago and Lightfoot Forever she was, but I don't think you still haven't finished that one, have you?
No, I refuse to let that story end.
Yeah, Jago. No. So they must have had someone different for... Is it Series 6 she was in?
Yeah, Series 6.
Yeah. So... no, I can't see a Queen Victoria on the cast for Series 6 unless I'm blind.
No.
Unless we're maybe misremembering.
Maybe we're just misremembering. Maybe that's the memory cheats, maybe.
Yeah. Because certainly she's part of the plot.
But
it could more be... I don't hear Series 7. Lizzie Roper plays Queen Victoria.
So it's a different person.
Yeah. But they do get Rowena Cooper on board for Jago and Lightfoot Forever at least. So no, we're both right and wrong.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely do question, because obviously you get this doctor in the asylum on sort of Christmas Eve, who you have this woman who thinks she's the queen, and you have her all talking like we, not I. So there's an instant mystery within the story within that.
That's how she talks in the other audios, to be fair.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I thought that was to do with the story itself. I was like, oh, something's going on there.
Oh no, it's all about the royal we and such.
Okay.
It's that sort. Yeah, it's that thing they're going for.
I was just making an inference when it wasn't really there then.
Yeah. I think that's just her making herself seem more important.
I guess.
Yeah, they certainly play into that a lot. And even though she is the protagonist in this story, I suppose, she's not the nicest of people.
No, and I think that's quite rare for Doctor Who to do, because when we get like a historical story, it often puts said historical figure on a pedestal and go, look, weren't they great? So it's nice to show that there is two sides to a coin, really.
Yeah, and this is very much a spit on the poor story, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Burn the anarchists. Throw Christopher Eccleston to the wolves.
Oh, Christopher Eccleston. To be fair, the Ninth Doctor in this story would be an interesting one. Parasite in Chief.
Yeah, so there's like some poetic justice at first, but then it all gets twisted a bit, and at the end, such things only happen in fairy tales, I suppose. How would you rate it overall?
I would give it a solid 8 out of 10.
I'd agree with that. I think it's maybe teetering on a 9 a bit, but I'd say 8 is a very good rating for this one.
Sound design's excellent. The atmosphere's rich, incredibly bleak, and perfect for a fire listen at Christmas. By the fireside, hot chocolate, Christmas tree. Time for some spooks.
Certainly, perhaps one issue I have with it is something I can't really say because it'll give away too many spoilers, but because I know we've been praising it a lot, there is one thing that does slightly bug me, but I can't really go into.
I'd say there's a twist what I found predictable.
I can agree with that.
I feel like that's the weekend you're like, I saw that coming.
But there's quite a couple of twists in this one, though.
Yeah.
I think I enjoy the build-up to that where you're trying to work out the mystery alongside the characters. I like a story that does that, where it doesn't make it obvious, but at the same time it gives you enough clues where you can be a detective alongside them. Yeah. It's all about that engagement, isn't it? It's getting you to engage with the story and really think about it a lot more.
Yeah, it is one you've got to play the game with and not just listen on in the background, really. So if you want to check it out, it's on sale, and I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I'd say I recommend it too.
It's definitely worth a little listen, especially if you want something a little bit spooky.
Yeah, definitely worth it just in time for Christmas.
Buy it, save it for Christmas Eve, then you'll have a good old time, I guess.
Yeah. Though I will say this one you could probably listen to any time of year, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you get the whole start of the story is the little rhyme, then it is the asylum, then it's sort of that sort of summer. It starts off in summer, really, how the sort of strange beginnings go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think certainly it's set at Christmas. There's a little bit of Christmassy stuff in there, but it is one you can more get away with listening to at any time of year. Grey Mare, on the other hand, I'd say that's very much you've got to listen to this one around Christmas time, really, to get the full benefit.
I'm a big fan of when sort of I want to say Doctor Who, but it's Torchwood when it takes sort of folklore and puts a sort of sci-fi spin on it, and this very much does that.
Yeah, or in a way, it almost doesn't. In a way, I think because you've got Yanto in this, and he's not necessarily all in on the science stuff. There isn't actually a scientific solid explanation by the end of this, which I think adds to it as well. This isn't a negative, by the way, but yeah, it almost does make the threat in this one more creepy.
Yeah, because Yanto thinks it's from the rift, doesn't he? That it must have fallen through a thing called the rift, and this is how it's ended up here.
Yeah, certainly he has some theories, but there's no solid explanation by the end of it. It's left a bit more ambiguous from what I can. Yeah.
And the Mary Lloyd, is it?
Yeah, Mary Lloyd.
Mary Lloyd. It's an interesting tradition in Wales, isn't it? It's sort of call and response, from what I gather. So sort of the village people going around with sort of a bed sheet and a horse's skull with like ribbons and everything, which I think's done by the people of the village, sort of like for fertility, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it's basically call and response. They go around knocking on each other's doors, and there'll be like a little sing song. Because I think Lisa Bauman shared like a 4-minute clip of it. So it's so the Mary Lloyd can gain entry. If the Mary Lloyd gains entry, then it will chase kids around the house and the wives. And I think that it was sort of to bless a family to have kids or something like that. And it was a way of people to basically get drunk, really.
Yeah, it's just a bit of rural fun, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Had you heard of it before this audio was announced?
Yeah, my first sort of experience of the Mary Lloyd was there's this hashtag called Folklore Thursday, and it was trending on Twitter. And I clicked on it and I looked for it because I have a weird fascination with like looking at folklore, and that's how I learned about like the Krampus and everything. And this was a time when Better Watch Out and Fairy Tale of Salzburg was coming out, so this is my sort of first sort of exposure of it, looking at sort of Christmas folklore. So it definitely has that. It definitely fits like a Doctor Who story.
Yeah, it really does suit that. I think for me, I'd heard about it before because I have a friend who grew up and was from some of the more rural parts of North Wales, and she went to university with her a couple of years back, and she just shared a meme about it on Facebook. Is pretty much how I learned about this thing. It's nice how with this story, though, even though Yanto is from Wales, he's from Cardiff, which is like, I think the rest of Wales sort of looks down upon as the English part of Wales. Like, I know
the story makes joke of it quite a bit. Oh, you're from Cardiff.
Yeah. Like I say, with the university I went to, there was a couple of Welsh people there. And I was like, oh, have you ever been to Wales? I'm like, well, Cardiff. And they're like, yeah, that doesn't really count.
That's not Wales.
Yeah. You get looked down upon, I think, if you're from Cardiff there, sadly. But yeah, so that sort of plays into that with Yanto. While this is his folklore in a way, he doesn't know anything about it. And so this audio uses that to its advantage to explain this and have that more horror twist on it, where he's more aware of that, obviously being for Torchwood, and us being more aware of that because we know the conventions of what we're getting in for here. This is a Torchwood audio drama. We know that it's not going to be a fun little game being played. There is going to be something more macabre behind that. And so I think he serves as a good window into this, and also just great for his character because he just wants to spend Christmas alone, really. That suits him.
Yeah, his phone's off.
And
He's got a little voice recording saying, look, I'm not going to answer till like the 28th. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, he just wants a nice little getaway. But he's not going to get it because the Mare Lloyd is coming a knocking for him.
I love how that sort of how he's brought all these supplies. I love how that plays into the story that it just wants food and warmth and that. I like how it plays into that a lot. I remember you saying that it works best as a Torchwood story than a Doctor Who story. Because, like you said, the Doctor is science, you know, he'll have all the answers, whereas Yanto doesn't have all the answers, like you said earlier.
I think even in that, it works better without Jack as well. Not that we'd have John Barrowman in there anyway, but yeah, with Yanto, he is more of this down-to-earth, relatable person. He doesn't have all this vast knowledge of that, and he shows his fear a bit more. He steps up in the story when he needs to, but you can tell he's scared at the same time. And so I think that adds to it in horror when you have a protagonist who is scared along with you. That adds to it more than whereas Doctor Who, you have the Doctor who is often very sure of themselves, even if they're just faking it for their companions. And so you've got someone there holding your hand as the kids, taking you through the horror and saying, no, you don't have to be scared of monsters. I'm the one that fights the monsters. Here, it's you've left fighting the monsters on your own pretty much. And I think that's what works about this horror.
Yeah, and it's quite an isolated story because, like you said, it's in a rural village. There's houses all sort of scattered around, and people are being picked off one by one, really, within it.
Yeah, you've only really got 3 cast members as well.
Yeah, Yanto, Mrs. Watkins, and Daniel.
Yeah, there's a 4th cast member, but they're not really involved in the most of the story.
Towards the end of the story, more than anything.
Yeah. So yeah, that certainly plays into it very nicely. It's the debut of these writers as well.
Stuart Pringle and Lauren Mooney, is it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Apologies if I've pronounced your name wrong.
Yeah, so I just had to get it up on my own screen because as I'm looking at it on the share screen, it was a bit blurred. So
yeah,
I could.
But I think that this is a wonderful debut by them, and if this is anything from what they are gonna do, then I look forward to future stories. I think that it's a real solid slice of Torchwood.
Yeah, and maybe get them in on some Doctor Who stuff as well, because I mean, what we've seen with Tim Foley, for example, as a writer, he started off with Torchwood and then expanded from there to different corners of the Big Finish catalogue. And so I would like to see more of what they have to offer.
I think in terms of horror for this story, I think it's not horror in sense of jump scares. It has the potential to have jump scares, but it's more of a build and atmosphere.
Yeah, it very much focuses more on building that atmosphere, building that tension, making you think a jump scare is coming, but holding off even longer to give it to you. Like, it has its moments. It's got a lot of knocking in there as well, but a lot of it more is the quiet and the waiting, really, and the character moments. Like, I think particularly between Yanto and Mrs. Watkins, who is a wonderful old woman character, sort of in a similar vein to some of the ones you get in the Tom Baker era, like Mrs. Tyler, and who's the one from Stones of Blood, like the most iconic?
Oh, Professor Rumford.
Yeah, Professor Rumford, there you go. She's sort of in that kind of vein, and even has a bit of a sad story of her own, really.
I think as well, with this story going on to like Mrs. Watkins sort of thing, is grief and death. And I think what's lovely about this story, I say lovely, how it fits how Torchwood deals with death thematically.
Yeah, this definitely plays into that.
With like, oh, what did you say? You know, like when Susie and Jack died, you know, what did you see in the afterlife? And it was just nothing. It was just dark. And the story plays into that. So it fits nicely into the Torchwood world.
It definitely does that very well.
And it has some striking sort of horror imageries with like the pale men, holding like the Mare Lloyd. And obviously on the cover it looks very creepy.
Yeah, so you can imagine that like spooky image watching them through the windows. Like, it's got a good bit going on here. I think it's got the creepiness, but it's also got a lot of heart to it as well, and some quite strong, wholesome moments. I think that's when I was really attached to this story.
Especially when they're sort of holding fort at like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think, yeah, go on.
It all takes place in one night as well, doesn't it? Like,
it's just a cracker. I enjoyed it a lot.
I think definitely one to listen to around Christmas. Comparing the two stories, while I'd say that on paper, like as I look at it, The Crown is probably the better of the two. I feel like this is the one I connect with more and enjoy more. This is the one I'd more like to stick on and have a good time with.
I agree. This is my favorite of the bunch.
Yeah, same. Yeah, so
it just fits that winter listen. I just had a lot of fun with it, really.
Definitely want to come back to next year, or maybe still this year. We've still got some time.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind revisiting actually. In terms of rating, I'm really torn between an 8.5 and a 9 actually.
Like I'm probably sticking with an 8 for this one, to be honest, but a very strong 8.
I'll go 8.5 because I enjoyed it a little bit more than The Crown, and I just want to put it a little bit higher, just to say that it is a really good story. Sound design, like the sound design for the Mare Lloyd, and just sort of the opening with that, with like the poem and then the cat disappearing. You're like, oh, that's a bit creepy. Who's the other character? Where is it? Daniel. I think he provides some nice comedy within the story.
Yeah, that's very true.
And that when you get horrific moments, because it's quite a small village, when you get people being picked off one by one, you really get the sense of weight. When
because they Daniel all know each other.
That sort of tight-knit community, and you see them just now become pale men or women. It adds much more horror, even though you never see those characters or have met them. You feel like you have encountered them.
Yeah. But then you also get Yanto again being the audience surrogate there, because he doesn't know these people. He's just learning about them through Daniel and Miss Watkins.
Yeah, Grey Mare. Good stuff.
Yeah, so Torchwood overall for Christmas, it's brilliant stuff, really, isn't it?
I'm glad we dived into it.
Christmas. Like when you think about Christmas specials in the Whodiverse, Torchwood isn't really the one you jump to as, oh, I want a Torchwood Christmas special. Like, I don't think before that we ever really considered this as an option, but now having got 2 of them, I've really had a good time diving into them. I'm glad we, because to be honest, if we didn't do this little review for it, I probably wouldn't have picked them up.
I think out of the 2, I'd be more inclined to get Grey Mare. I think if I was to get one of the 2 just out of sheer blind curiosity, I think Grey Mare would have been the one I would have picked.
For me, it would have more been the other way around, actually. And I was planning on getting The Crown last year, because I did get Save Our Souls, as mentioned, but just never got around to it for one reason or another. I can't quite remember. I think it's because by the time I was able to get it, Christmas Story passed, so I was sort of thinking it's not really worth it. I won't be in the right mood for it. And so ended up working out because I saved it for this year instead.
And had a double whammy of Torchwood.
Yeah, double bill of Christmas to enjoy.
I mean, definitely worth checking out those 2 releases. I highly recommend them. They're good stuff. If you want more of a spooky one, go for The Crown. But if you want, I guess, more of a solid tale, it's wrong to say that, really.
good time, bit of wholesomeness, bit of scares as well. It's more of an all-rounder, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a better way of putting it, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas The Crown is very much more horror-based and also people being quite horrible.
Yeah. That is our little Torchwood review.
Yeah, I suppose in a way they mirror each other. The Crown is people getting torn apart. Not literally, well, maybe literally.
Wow, you'll have to discover that for yourself.
But yeah, as I'm speaking metaphorically, torn apart. Whereas the Grey Mare is them coming together to survive Christmas. So you sort of get a nice yin and yang with them there.
What a summary. What a summary for that.
Yeah, what a way to end.
What a way to end that. Mr. Bon Cactus, I swear to God, that horse comes to my house every Christmas asking for finance advice. Make sure your door's shut. Yeah.
Well,
don't
let him in.
Don't let him in.
Yeah. We just turn in banks down the village, says Mr. Bon Cactus.
Good idea.
Payne Cyberman says, "Ooh, 9 of Victoria would be a really good dynamic to see." Yeah, so sadly, probably not going to get the chance of it.
Unless it's in Series 2 of Eccleston, maybe.
But I mean, like, with 10th Doctor and Queen Victoria and Tooth and Claw.
Yeah, true.
I don't think...
Well, they could do, like, Shakespeare and David Bradley, maybe, and Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, I suppose it might be a way to work it. But surely, with Torchwood and everything, she'd just try to get his head chopped off.
True.
I'm sure Big Finish might be able to work out a way around it, to be fair.
I'm sure they'll have a solution to some of it.
Yeah. Anyone else got anything to say in the chat? Please let us know down below. Let us know your thoughts on these stories if you've picked up, or let us know your favourite Torchwood.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Give us some recommendations, because we seem like Torchwood novices, really.
Yeah.
What else we got? Which do you lads think is a better set? Day of the Dalek set, or should I get the Planet set? I don't know.
B&M.
Very good sets. 2 of my favourites from the year, actually. But I think Planet, you got your drones and you got the mutant reveal, so that's exciting. But then for Day of the Dalek set, you're getting a Supreme and a Gunmetal Grey Drone Dalek. I can't pick. They're 2 perky sets.
I suppose it's down to you whether you want more of a army builder, or just you're only interested in getting the different models, like getting one of each.
Payne Cyberman, honestly, Corpse Day is so messed up. You got to listen to it. I bought it. I will listen to it. I've probably got to prepare myself for it mentally.
Yeah.
And try not to vomit.
Yeah, make sure you listen on an empty stomach. So I just want favourite 2020 Torchwood monthly range cover.
I've got to have a look, actually, because I can't say I remember the covers from Torchwood.
I do quite like Red List.
You weren't a fan of that story overall, were you?
I haven't listened to it.
I thought you got... Oh, no, Red List. Oh, I was thinking of the Red Base, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's... Oh, wait. Sorry, I'm going 2021 covers. Yeah, that's what's throwing me off.
There we go.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Red Base cover's the best either. Yeah, the story itself, I think it's just one of... If it was in a box set, I'd be less offended by it. Because I spent the whole £9 on the download. I sort of feel a bit more waste. Like, it just feels like a space filler. Like, it's... no pun intended there with the spacesuit. Like, it's a good enough story, a good bit of filler, but it's got nothing much beyond that.
Yeah.
Yeah, covers. I do like the Crown cover, funnily enough. That's a very good one.
I'll load up the cover so people can have a sort of visual reference.
Save Our Souls is another very good cover.
I think Save Our Souls is probably my favourite of that year. But I do like Iceberg. I think that's a really nice cover with Owen.
Yeah.
But then Tropical Beach has got that great early Torchwood Series 1 look to it, I think, as well.
Yeah. I think Torchwood covers are always quite great, really. There's something special about them.
I really like the cover for Drive, actually. It's just really simple.
That's 2021, but...
Yeah, I know, it's funny, but I'll just... in general.
But yeah. But yeah, I suppose Save Our Souls would be the highlight of the 2020 covers.
I'll agree with that one. Amelia 1802. Goodbye Piccadilly is my favourite Tortured monthly range as Andy and Norton are one of my favourite audio duos. I mean, you're a big fan of Norton and Andy from your Tortured Soho stuff, so there we go.
Yeah, I think that's the only one with those two in together that I haven't picked up. I also haven't, although they're together in God Among Us, actually, but yeah, so I think there's a fair bit I've missed out on of them as a duo, but certainly monthly range wise, I haven't got that one. I was interested at the time, but that was sort of when Big Finish was exploding a lot in other areas, and I thought something's got to go. I'm going to have to cut off Torchwoods.
My favourite is the one with this scuffed baby. Oh, The Expectant. Oh, that's a cursed cover.
Yeah, that's probably one of the least favourites overall.
Not a big fan of that cover, and it's the last John Barrowman one.
Yeah, funny.
What a way to end! Go out on. What a way to end for Barrowman.
Oh, the not that we can see it on the website now, but the Absent Friends cover was a very good one.
Yeah, and it would have had a really nice sort of gold full finish to it as well. So that'd have been really nice. That'd have been really cool.
Mr. Montcactor says he went with Day, even though he wanted both, but that's Supreme.
Supreme is very nice.
Yeah, that's what. You got a Planet Dalek already as well, but you don't have a Planet Dalek with the flip up lid.
Oh, you just need it. It's one of the best classic Dalek figures. It's great. Love it. But yeah, I think that is pretty much for chat. Which monster would Russell T Davies bring back for the 60th anniversary in white? God knows.
Probably Daleks, knowing him. But...
Probably Dalek. He's got a natural bias to the Daleks, just going off like Army Ghosts and Doomsday.
Yeah, but you never know. He could surprise. I think certainly that's one of the things, because he had that whole interview with Moffat, and he said, "Don't think you know what you're gonna get because you don't."
It's going to be such a weird 60th anniversary. You can't predict it, and it just feels like an odd place to go. Here's your new Doctor, because I feel like as fans, we expect multi-Doctor.
But can you really go multi-Doctor that early on into a Doctor's run? Like, it might even be
the Deep Breath
first story. Yeah, but that's not quite.
Yeah, I mean, if people are going to be pedantic, I just thought I'd cover that base.
Yeah, fair enough. I just realised that means Peter Capaldi both started and ended with a multi-Doctor story.
I know, he was, bless him, he was flawed there.
But yeah, very much he's the focus of that, and then you get a little cameo. Whereas what you expect for a multi-Doctor celebratory story is very much like an even split of focus.
I mean, it sort of feels sort of strange, Jodie leaving at the centenary, really, because you're like, oh yeah, that's a great place to leave, but then you got the 60th, and if she comes back, you're like, well, why couldn't you just have stayed for that one and then go? But I don't know, it's a weird one.
Yeah, I suppose it's also down to Chris Chibnall himself wanting to be done with the show by 2022.
Yeah,
I think he had that family commitment there, which is completely fair. I suppose if Jodie sort of wanted to go out with him as well, the one who brought, the writer who brought him in, you don't necessarily want to stick around just for another writer to write you out.
But it'd been interesting to see how Russell writes for Jodie. I mean, there's still a chance for that, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I think.
But there's that rumor going around that it's going to be David Tennant and Matt Smith, and it's going to be like a little mini series that intertwines. I don't know. I've just seen that going around. Probably completely not true.
Faked a bit.
Yeah, it's been faked.
And that's something that he did mention in that interview, though, where he's talking about spin-offs. He said, why not just get them back?
I mean, McGann's the obvious one.
Yeah, definitely. And he still looks young enough.
That man does not age, you know?
Well, he does, but he does like a fine wine.
McGann is a fine wine, and his voice is definitely a fine wine.
Yeah.
Could we get Stranded live action? That'd be cool. And then Russell can finally kill Andy.
There we go. Yeah, that's why he's really going back to have that power.
He wants that power again.
Did you watch the little cast interviews they did for Stranded 3?
No, I've not watched those actually.
Oh, it's brilliant just to hear Tom Price say what, and then RTD, or as we know him, God.
Oh, everyone knows Russell is the God.
Yeah. Some very fun little interviews there. Definitely recommend hopping over to the Big Finish channel and checking those out.
Is McGann in it?
No, I think it's even called The Companions of Stranded. So, yeah, I think it's certainly Nicola Walker, Tom Price, and Rebecca Root. I can't remember if Hattie Morahan gives one as well.
You've not listened to Stranded 3 yet, have you?
No, not yet. Have you started it at all?
I have.
What do you think?
I feel like I need to go back to it.
Yeah. It's a weird one, Stranded, isn't it? It feels like something we're all really into a while back, but it's just taken too long to get back to.
I think if it was out June, I'd be more on board with it. But I've kind of just sort of fizzled out. Like, I love the characters. I love Helen, Liv, Tanya, Andy. It's nice to see Andy taking more of a central role in the gang, because the Dr. Base has a gang in Stranded 3, which is nice. But it feels like we're getting more to like the meat of like divine intervention and all that, and the root cause of where time started to go skew with.
It just feels like we're taking too long to have gotten to that point.
And I don't feel inclined to revisit Stranded 1 and Stranded 2 because, I did it back when we did our Stranded review.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're still fresh in my mind. Yeah. So I don't feel like I need to revisit them. But then I feel like maybe I'd benefit. But I feel like once Stranded's completed, I feel more obliged to go, right, let's listen to it.
Yeah. I suppose it's less of a re-listen for the actual story contents. Like, I feel like I know enough about all the details to be able to go into Stranded 3 and understand it. But it's more just on a basic enjoyment level. Maybe I would get more starting with Stranded 1, going through that hype, building that all up, then going into Stranded 3 like that, being on board with the characters again. But Stranded itself, I feel like its time in the sun has gone, sadly. And so it just feels like something to get out the way before we move on to the relaunch in the monthly range. Monthly range replacement, I guess, with the Eighth Doctor Adventures upcoming box sets.
Yeah, you sort of feel more excited for 8 and Charlie than Stranded 3, which, this is like 3/4 of the series, and we're thinking that.
Yeah.
Strange. I mean, the fourth story is meant to be interesting because is it meant to be all backwards?
Yeah.
Not got to that one yet.
Starts off with the credits and then goes to the ident.
Okay.
I'm curious about that one at least. How about Warbringer? Have you started? You started that one, haven't you, as well?
That's very good.
Did you finish that one and then do Stranded, or are you skipping between the two?
I'm sort of cherry picking between the two, whatever one I fancy.
That's fair. I think it's better that way, isn't it? Going for what you're in the mood for rather than devoting yourself to something when maybe you want to be listening to something else instead.
Yeah, because I went downstairs and my dad was watching New Tricks and Paul McGann was on it, and I just found myself sort of transfixed just watching Paul McGann. I was like, you know what, I'll listen to Stranded now.
Yeah, you might as well.
So it sort of put me in the mood for that, really. I was like, oh, McGann. Because I love McGann. It's just a shame that he's sort of been hit and miss, really, for me. I mean, Stranded's been like a revival, really.
I'd say Ravenous was still quite. I suppose it's
Ravenous
like the time more mixed in there that does a bit. And we don't know where to go with that at the moment.
Yeah, and this is the revival. Speaking of Eighth Doctor, Pain Sideman says, so are the 2022 Eighth Doctor audios going to be a continuation or something completely different?
We're not 100% sure yet, are we, really?
No, it could be One Time War, and then one could be Liv, Helen, and Tanya. It all depends on the ending of Stranded, really.
Yeah, well, I think it could be. Yeah, it could be anything, really. I think certainly the assumption is that they'll just continue the ongoing adventures, but we can't really be 100% sure of that one yet. Could even be back with more Lucy Miller stuff. Who knows?
Which I think is probably the preferred one.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that set a lot. I enjoyed that one.
Or maybe they'll just say, screw it and get a whole new companion again. Start off yet another strand for his stories.
Or it could be his comic book companions. That would be interesting, like Fitz or Izzy. You know, that'd be nice. Or like the book, books, or like Sam from like the EDAs.
Yeah, it doesn't have a shortage of him. Maybe even Grace if they've sorted out those rights.
I don't think they have, because obviously we're not using TV Movie McGann or
I think it's very
any
unlikely.
properties from that anymore, which is that's what makes that 8 and Charlie cover just seem a little bit off for me, because I'm like, where's the frock coat? You know,
where's the McGann we all know and love?
Yeah.
Pain Sideman, hot take, Lucy isn't my favourite companion. Granted, I listened to series 1. That's fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, she's not my favourite Big Finish companion, but I can see why a lot of people love her and think that she's a favourite.
Yeah. Do you mean favourite either Big Finish or Eighth Doctor companion, Pain Sideman, or do you just mean favourite companion overall there?
Yeah. But yeah, when you get to series 4 of the Lucy stuff, and you get to said ending, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna miss her, you know. And Sheridan Smith, what an actor! What an actor!
Yeah.
Great.
I think certainly they've said they want to get her back for more as well. It's just down to scheduling, so certainly they have. If not more stories planned, they'll quickly whip some up for her when she's next in the neighbourhood, so to speak. Pain Sideman in Big Finish. That's fair.
Who would you say is your favourite Big Finish companion?
I don't know. At one time, I probably would have said Flip, but I don't know. I feel like with some of the more recent Constance and Flip stuff, I've not lost interest a bit, but she's no longer quite as exciting as she was at one time. How about you?
I don't know if you can class like the Dalek Universe team.
Oh, they are very good though.
They're very good. I like the Dalek Universe team a lot.
I'd say you can, especially like because Anya did technically trouble with the Fourth Doctor.
But then I really like Evelyn. I want to honour Evelyn because she's a great one. And she was the first original Big Finish companion I listened to, so I think maybe I've got to go for Evelyn for like the traditionalist and purist in me. But for vibes, Dalek Universe team.
Pain Sideman says probably Evelyn as well. So
good shout.
There you go. That is fair. I
Also
also kind of like Mark. He's good for what he represents that TARDIS team. Yeah, we love a good bit of Mark.
I'm a big fan of the Mark stuff.
Yeah,
just a shame how he sort of wrote it out, really.
I think I'm a big fan of the Mark stuff overall. But Mark himself, I like George Watkins and like what he does with the character. I just don't feel like the characters was given enough for the most part. Like he was more there to stir things up among the other teammates and really build the Fifth Doctor's character and explore that arc, rather than for him to be a character in his own right and have his own journey. I think that was a secondary purpose for him. And so I think while that does give the Mark stories some very good stuff, some very good character exploration, Mark isn't necessarily the one getting that character exploration. I mean, even in once in the Warzone / Conversion story, he says it's not actually about him. It's about right at the end when they're having their argument. Even though on the surface it's about him, he recognizes that the argument is about more than that. And I mean, not to go into too much detail there.
Yeah, check that straight up for yourself because it's a cracker. It's a cracker. But yeah, I think that's pretty much us done for tonight, I think, in terms of chat and everything.
Yeah, certainly check out The Grey Mare and The Crown if you are interested in a bit of Torchwood horror for Christmas.
Yeah, The Crown is on sale, and of course, Grey Mare, just check it out. It's good. Recommend that one. I think if I was to pick one, Grey Mare's the recommendation for the night for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. Certainly, if you are interested in both, I'd say it's worthwhile going for both, though, especially since The Crown is also on sale.
Get a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, not too huge discount, but every little helps.
Especially at Christmas, because Christmas shopping and all that.
Yeah, you want to be saving your pennies, but it's also good to splash out and enjoy a good bit of audio drama as the night's drawing.
Oh yeah, you got to treat yourself, and why not treat yourself to those 2 releases?
Yeah, so thumbs up from us there. Thank you everyone in the chat for joining us.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching and joining us. We'll see you on Wednesday for more of this, more talking to you in the chat. So if you got any questions, save them for Wednesday, and we'll be back just to have a nice chill chat. Get some hot chocolate, shortbread. We'll be there.
Yeah, there's a little tab on the community tab as well, where you can drop down some questions there for us that we'll get to. So that'll sort of be the starting point for the stream, won't it? And then maybe turn to the chat depending on how things go.
Just so we can dive in and answer your questions and just have a nice little way to wrap up the year and sort of, I guess, reflect on Doctor Who in 2021, really. As a little general thing.
Thank you, Mr. Bonk Cactus and Pain Cyberman and everyone else who's joined us.
And the Stylish One and Ben Miller, thank you very much. Appreciate all the little questions in the chat. It's always lovely to have familiar faces and some new ones as well. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you on Wednesday. Stay safe, everyone, because yeah,
take care.
Dangerous world out there. Bye bye.